Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Friday, April the 26th, race number 8 at Keeneland. It's the Grade 3 Bewitch Stakes. Fillies and mares going 3 turns, 1.5 miles on the turf course. Let's take a look at this field, and it is so good to see the number 6, Warlike Goddess, back for another campaign of racing. When you think of the Bewitch, you think of Warlike Goddess. She's won it the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's great to see her back. This is her race, and it feels like she's found a pretty good spot here to start back then as a 7-year-old. If she can still run, and I guess we'll find out a little bit more about that on Friday. If she can still run, this field cannot beat her.
Warlike Goddess is a horse that likes to race from the back of the pack, so we'll see if the Timeform US pace projector is kind to her, and it looks like the pace won't necessarily be blazing, but it'll be solid enough with horses like Chop Chop, the number 1, Lovely Princess, the 5, Tick, 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 Boom, the 9, expected to be close, and the number 8, Vergara, usually shows a little bit of speed as well.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I didn't feel like this. They're going 1.5 miles on the turf here, Dan. They're not going to be flying up front in this race. There's not a ton of pace in here, but I don't think they're going to be walking either. Warlike Goddess does like to settle. If she settles, she does like to settle somewhere off the pace, but she's not a one-run closer. If she has to keep closer, she can.
Timeform US has the horse with the fastest late pace rating, the number 4, Atomic Blonde, but something tells me that if she gets into a kicking contest with Warlike Goddess, it might not work out for her. Chop Chop is the number 1. This filly started her career on dirt, and she was grade 1 place, just missing by a nose in the Alcibiades. She is a stakes winner on turf. She runs well on just about any surface, and she's coming off a good performance in the Latonia over the synthetic at Turfway. That was a race where she was wired. There was no pace for her, and she still rallied well for second.
I agree. I like her recent form. We'll see how the stretching all the way out here works for her. I guess that's a little bit of a question. It seems like she has enough pedigree to handle it. And I also just say, not only do I like her recent form, Dan, I like her as a turf horse. I'm surprised after those first 2 career starts, both wins. I'm surprised there's only 1 turf start since then. I know that she's good on the other surfaces, but she's good on turf. This could be her future.
Queen's Command is the number 2. This mare recently sold last month, actually, for $200,000 at public auction on the heels of this race. A runner-up effort in the Santa Ana at Santa Anita on February the 24th. She got a solid pace to attack. She was stretching out really for the first time in her career, Mike, to 1.25 miles, and I think she passed the test, running second to a very sharp horse, Linda's Gift. They're going to try to stretch her out even more, first time for Brian Lynch.
Yeah, she's only second best in this race, but she runs fine in here. The winner of the race is actually pretty good. And this horse was clearly second best in there. She ran fine. She's going to have to really up her game here, especially if Warlike Goddess can still run. But it feels like there's potential for better. I mean, she missed a lot of time. This is only her 3rd start back.
The distance seems like it's the friend of the 3, Tower Bridge, who's yet to win on turf, but she's only raced on it once, and it was against a pretty strong group of horses in the Grade 3 Orchid last time out at Gulfstream. That race won by the heavy favorite McCulloch. Tower Bridge really kind of just raced evenly that day, so she'll have to do more.
Yeah, she's going to have to improve quite a bit here. She just got into a race that was too tough for her last time, and just kind of went evenly around there. It's not like she gets into a softer spot this time, Dan. She's getting better with every start. I'll give her that. And she should be forward in this race, but man, does she have to take a step forward.
Although the number 4, Atomic Blonde, has yet to win since coming to North America from overseas, she's run some bang-up races. The Orchid in 2023, the Sheepshead Bay, the Big Dreyfus at Laurel. Her last 2 starts, though, before the layoff, not so good. It was the E.P. Taylor 2 starts back where she didn't really fire at a giant price, and then she had an excuse in the Long Island when she bled and was vanned off.
Yeah, I mean, the campaign last year obviously didn't end the way that they wanted it to. I think there's still some questions, even going back to, the better races that she ran, Dan. I mean, how good is she? I really don't know. She was pretty disappointing, I thought, after the Orchid, which wasn't a poor performance. It was actually pretty good, but she just wasn't good enough that day. And it just felt like every time they brought her back after that, she just ran a little bit worse, and then a little bit worse, and then a little bit worse. I'm fine with the distance for her. I know that she has a race in her that will make her competitive in here, and she is a really good price on the morning line.
Lovely Princess, the number 5, goes out for trainer Kenny McPeak and Brian Hernandez Jr. This one hasn't been seen since the end of January, where she ran a good third in a stakes race at the fairgrounds, going a mile and a 16th, finishing ahead of a horse that would come back to place in a stake at the fairgrounds with an 89 Beyer speed figure. She has run well at a variety of distances, Mike, and has good tactical speed.
Yeah, I like those things about her, maybe more than anything else. It feels like you can run her at any distance and it doesn't matter. And she can get good trips in her races. So those are, really both positives. I mean, you can go through any one of her races and if she runs fine, I don't think you're going to find big excuses for her, not winning those races. But she shows up and she runs her best every single time. And if the trip works out for her, she can be there at the end.
Here's the 6, Warlike Goddess, looking for a four-peat in the Bewitch, and she had a good year last year, although I think no one would argue if you said she wasn't at her usual par. She did win the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic for the second straight year against males, and in the Breeders' Cup Turf, I thought she ran just fine. She basically just sat at the back under Junior Alvarado, was in behind horses turning for home, and she ran on in the end against some of the best turf horses in the world, so maybe she was as good in 2023 in prior years. Your opinion?
Yeah, I hear where you're going though. Kind of felt the same way about her. I was like, you know what? She had an okay campaign last year. It just maybe felt like she wasn't quite as good as she had been before that. The Turf Classic was obviously a really big win. It was yielding turf. It was a terrible field. And she had, a big long shot out there opening up 20 lengths on the field. So everything really worked out for her. But then you go to the Breeders' Cup there, and I'm kind of with you there. I mean, this horse, they're clicking off 24s for a mile and a quarter in there. She's last against that field and making up ground at the end. She ran a very underrated race the last time we saw her.
Command and Control is the number 7. This one was in for the $40,000 claiming option last time out at Turfway Park. Finished evenly that day. She's facing a much tougher group.
Yeah, she's just one of the horses, that's really, really hard to make a case for. She did win on turf last summer, but against a much weaker field than this, and now they're going to stretch her all the way out.
Vergara's last 2 victories came at Kentucky Downs. That's kind of a quirky surface. Either you like it or you don't. She obviously likes it. She disappointed a little bit in her 2 subsequent starts. The Dowager at Keeneland 2 back, where she was up close to the pace. It was kind of in between horses. Maybe the trip wasn't the most comfortable in the world, but she didn't punch in the stretch. And then this race, the Grade 3 Long Island, where she went to the lead, and I guess she set a legitimate pace, but she didn't have an answer for R. Callie Kim, who's really good. Came back to place in a Grade 3 at Gulfstream with a 91, then win one with a 91.
Yeah, got run over by a really good horse in this race. And then she can't hold second from a big long shot, which was a little disappointing. I don't know, Dan. I just thought overall, she did seem like the kind of horse who maybe there was a chance that when they finally did stretch her out, she'd get a lot better. I don't know if that necessarily happened last year. She ran some good races, but I thought her overall form left a little to be desired.
Tick, 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 boom is the number 9, and she stretched out from a mile to a mile and a quarter last time out over the synth at Turfway, winning a second level allowance at a big price. So maybe she showed that there could be something new to her career in her 40th lifetime start. She's only 1 for 23 in her career on turf, but I did like the way she won last time out. For that class level and distance, that was a solid pace, and she stayed close to it throughout.
Yeah, she ran fine in that race. It was on a different surface, however, and now they're going to go longer against a better field. And she's just one of those horses who's really hard to like in here at 3 for 40 lifetime. They tried to stretch her out on turf in the past, and it hasn't worked out.
Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time, Grade 3 Bewitch. I think not only do we think Warlike Goddess is the most logical winner, I think even a hardened horse player like you, Mike's kind of rooting for.
I'm definitely rooting for her. I've always been a big fan of hers. And we've already talked about this is her race, man. 3 years in a row she's won it. The last 2 years, right off of a layoff after the Breeders' Cup, she won this race for fun. She's found the right field here, Dan. If she's still capable of doing it, and I'm gonna think that she is still capable of doing it if they're gonna bring her back this year. I was interested in the 1 Chop Chop getting back to turf in here, but I'm not betting against the favorite.
And I'm curious to maybe getting the 2 Queen's Command into the exacta off of a solid race at Santa Anita. First start after being purchased at public auction. 6184 Mike, 6283 me. It's the Grade 3 Bewitch. Can she make it 4 in a row, Warlike Goddess? Best of luck.